Let's try this. See if I can actually time this time. 3, 2, 1, go.
Begin.
Begin. I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hello, Jeffrey. What are we doing?
We're doing coffee before bed.
Okay, to discuss the problems of the world. Last podcast was zero politics, so I expect this one to be like nothing but.
Was it zero politics? Was it all just
Yeah.
just rambling thoughts of?
Oh no, no, he said that what was it? Somebody voted Democrats. NPCs vote Democrats.
Yeah, but that was in relation. That was only supplementally tied to a video game. How
Right.
no matter what you did to Los Santos, you could not change the way they vote.
Yeah, it still had homeless people lining the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Crime was at all-time high.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so it's zero politics podcast.
It was curious that you were trying to see if you could create enough of a ruckus in fictional California to actually get them to start voting Republican, which, what a dynamic for a video game would be.
That'd be brilliant, man.
Like how,
they actually beef up the state police with tanks.
exactly. So what travesties do you have to have happen to actually Giuliani the place?
Well, dude, as Trevor, you kill like 4,000 fucking people.
That's
so
exactly right. Yeah.
That's enough right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't Cyberpunk, man. It's not Night City where they're proud of the fact they have like 27,000 homicides a year.
Right.
Yeah, so...
And you're all independent contractors.
You're all independent contractors.
Yeah.
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 So, which is a hell of a way to run a police force.
Oh, yeah. I would love if the game actually broke down to... You play it long enough for there to be a fucking election, and
Like Sim City.
and as a result of this election, they actually start implementing like stop and frisk.
Right, broken window theory.
Yeah.
It's a checkbox that you can collect. Yeah. So, where you just start dishing out tickets for everything.
Right. So, when it comes down to what is coffee before bed, this is our wish list for impossible things to implement.
Oh, okay.
In video games or other ways.
Yeah. Sometimes they just don't try hard enough, though. In a lot of those games.
Well, I mean, think about the if-then logarithms that you have to program into this, because not only do you have to effect certain changes, they have to happen at certain rates. You have to have evidence that a certain political tide is turning without grabbing your attention and saying, look, player,
yeah, it's all been done before, though, man. I mean, like, simple, you could do it as a Sim City thing where you just have occasional, like, a newspaper or something.
Oh, yes.
That pops in there and says, Mayor Bob Boberson is going to get out of from office if he doesn't do something about crime.
Well,
and you can completely decide whether or not you engage with that, or otherwise just suddenly show up and the Los Santos Police Department has fucking, attack helicopters rather than normal helicopters.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that would be just a background effect,
sure,
right, without drawing attention to it. Because if they drew attention to it, that would be too on the nose, right?
Yeah, it's got to be really chill.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you got to watch the TV or actually listen to the news radio. So for a little while or something.
Well, when you're talking about something that impacts the voter on a basic level, you would have to get your information from people on the street.
Right.
Right? There would have to be people, you would have to record 50,000 more lines of dialogue of...
You could do it with like maybe 3 or 4 like NPCs that showed up every now and then or
they'd
something
say
like that.
the same shit all the time.
Yeah, or you just like make it so that your interactions with them aren't terribly frequent, Like you can't just walk up to any boob on the street and say, "Hey, what do you think about the mayor, sir?"
No, but the problem is, what happens is in these games you walk by their method of doing this is you walk by the NPCs in the game, and through the ambient conversation,
sure,
you would be hearing the same shit.
Yeah.
You'd be hearing variations
but
of, I think it's time for a change in this city.
Yeah, but that's every open world game.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they wouldn't look any different then, So I think you could actually sneak some of the subtlety in there if you really wanted to. The thing is like you can't do anything with those games because it's on the internet in 5 fucking minutes. kind of thing. And so everybody's going to go check out the IGN page or the Wikipedia or whatever it is,
Well, the problem with this, of course, would be you would do this for the purpose of like min-maxing the benefits of changing the government, right? At which point you have just taken a shot back to the fun value of this game and just
you turned it into murder.
hoovered all of the joy out of all of this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Apparently GTA 6 is in the works. So
It's been in the works for a while, right?
yeah, but I think they did the official announce. If I'm not mistaken, maybe that one passed me by or has yet to come, but I'm just buying into the hype. I don't know. So
No, I understand. I understand. Look, there's a this is sort of something that's come up on things that I've listened to as well, not just, in the game sphere, right? Some of the things I've been listening to have been talking about essentially the way that music has developed over the past few decades, right?
Music?
Yeah.
okay.
Going into the 50s, 60s, that sort of thing. And one of the things that they've talked about, and this is something I definitely remember, was with the limited supply of music, and again, I don't mean this in a positive way, but there was, more of a cultural touchstone, there was a lot more speculation when it came to, like, you'd listen to a song and a lot of the nation would hear it, and there would be speculation about what do these lyrics really mean? Because there's no version of this in modern life where people are like, I think that if you follow the clues, Hotel California is about the Church of Satan.
Right.
Because nobody would give a fuck.
No,
They'd be like,
they wouldn't.
So?
Yeah.
Right? There would be, there's no version of this where people speculate over who the people Carly Simon is talking about and You're So Vain is, right? To the point where that's a big auction for people to know.
Yeah.
Right? And I think with games, they've sort of lost that mystery where that same sort of algorithm breaking where, like, wait, how do you have a Green Party mayor? Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure.
Hit the rando button.
But it's not even the rando button. It's like you start I was just playing how much toxic waste did you dump?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, I didn't dump it. It just fell.
It was there when I got here. Yeah.
Yeah. And sapping some of the mystery out of that, like there used to be in games where you could look at, like, wait, that happened in your game? How the hell did you do that?
Yeah. That just doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. No, because I remember, like, you and I had two different playthroughs of Blade Runner. They were completely fucking different.
I didn't even know that there were, like, 8 or, like, 10 different endings. I remember it's like, wait, that guy was a replicant in yours?
He wasn't in mine.
Were you?
Were you? Unclear. So, well, I don't know, man. That one's kind of a one-offer because I haven't really seen too many games that went to that extent. To have like all the Rockstar games are on rails, so everybody goes the same place in the end, and so of course Rockstar is the biggest one out there. Even like games that they had an opportunity to do that in, like LA Noire, they didn't do it. But then there were other games. Yeah, they could have easily done it in that game if they wanted to. Especially since didn't they have to claw it back from that studio?
Team Bondi. I think. Well, it's hard for me to say because I don't know if they obviously could, because that production was so goddamn troubled that there's a possibility that what they released was simply what they could get out the door at that point.
I thought the inside story on this one was that Rockstar and where is it, San Diego?
Yeah.
Had to claw that one back. Because Bondi was in Australia, wasn't it? Yeah, so they had to claw that one back, and that's why they had to junk an entire book of missions.
Right.
On there for some reason, and that's why it's got this piss poor ending.
Right.
Yeah, where there's this like weird jank in the game that makes no sense.
Right.
Yeah. And so I don't know though. I haven't heard the full story. I haven't seen a GDC autopsy on that one.
Right.
So,
a post-mortem.
Postmortem, that's what they
Perhaps,
call. Those
yeah.
are actually really cool videos. So
You learn some interesting things.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really like. There was a couple of them that were really interesting. Particularly, I think there was one on Spore that kind of threw me off because that was
That was Will Wright.
Will Wright, yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently went a little cray cray.
Some Maxis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maxis, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know. We'll see. There is a new like tower defense game out there that I was looking at. might go
I
pick it up.
was unaware that tower defense was in your wheelhouse.
This one's like a combination tower defense and like stronghold reboot kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's got this really kind of cool looking art style too that I kind of liked. I'll see if I can find what it was, but I don't think it's actually out yet. I just seen a couple of YouTubers doing it.
Okay.
So, or maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, it could be. I don't know. I'm sort of still knee deep in Infernax.
Infernax.
Yeah, which is yeah, it's an indie game. It's sort of a spiritual successor to Simon's Quest, but if it was done well.
Wow, Simon's Quest. That's something I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, it took some of the elements of this, some of the exploration and the day-night cycle, but made it into a game that wasn't absolute dog shit. And I've actually been enjoying that quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was after, of course, the 44 minutes I spent in Elden Ring and said, this is not the product for me.
I hear that motherfucker's getting review bombed like crazy.
Well, it's probably getting a review bomb for stupid reasons, but
Well, that's the article's point, but yeah.
is it about accessibility again?
I don't know. I didn't read it.
Fuck this.
I'm not
This-
gonna play. I
oh,
told you last time. I'm not in the mood for swords right now, man. I'm gonna go back to guns here first. So for a
Guns are
bit.
fine. No, that's all the games from that studio are the lightning rod for the accessibility debate within games.
So is that the whole one about like you should have just a story mode where there's no challenge in it whatsoever?
Yeah, which has
So you're
been
basically watching a movie.
pejoratively labeled the journalist mode.
Journalist. Okay, I kind of like that.
I do too.
Journalist mode. It probably took about 5 seconds to grab that label. You know?
Well, because who were the people bitching about it?
Oh, fucking Forbes. Yeah.
Not even Forbes, the fucking losers at Kotaku, the fucking losers at
Oh, not all the guys at Kotaku are losers.
Kotaku. They are the biggest bitchers when it
Are
comes
they?
to accessibility settings.
Oh, okay. Well, the Forbes guys that I kept running into, they're the ones who are really big on like the social justice stuff and things like that.
Oh, you'll get them
Engaged.
too.
Yeah, okay.
Kotaku's they're at the leading forefront of that bullcrap.
Oh,
too.
okay. So I shouldn't be reading the Kotaku.
No, read them all you want, right? There's at the very minimum, what that provides is at least a perspective.
Okay.
Right? It can be a perspective that you say, you guys are fucking dumb, right? Or you guys are fucking crybabies, right? There's a version of that too. Because, look, they were one of the ones leading the charge in the Elden Ring debate, where they were like, this character creator thing will let you create black people, but it doesn't have enough representation of black hairstyles.
Oh. No, I didn't see that one. I think the article actually was from Kotaku where they were talking about getting review bombed, though. It might have been. I don't know. It
Those
might have been Games Radar, too. So
I don't really pay attention. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
Games
anything even
Radar.
are fucking good or not.
Yeah.
So I just go off the titles now, not even who the publisher is. Just
Right.
to, oh, this sounds interesting, so let me
Yeah.
go check it out.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Like I said, not in the mood for swords right now.
Oh no, that's fine. And that's totally okay. It's just play something that's meant for you. But that's the debate. There is whether or not every game should be accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And the argument here, and keep in mind where I stand when it comes to artistic intent.
Sure.
Right. Where I end up on the snooty up my own ass auteur side.
Oh, well, you've always defended it well.
I've always defended it. well is as soon as you ask me to take pragmatism into consideration, my argument falls apart because you say, but Jeffrey, they're releasing a product. And if said product doesn't sell, then that's the last product they'll ever release.
That is kind of the Achilles heel. So,
right. It's sort of it's the two of spades here. And
it is.
I don't know how to overcome it because that's the truth. Now, again, my perspective on this is the difficulty is part of the art form.
Sure.
Right? And that is the feeling of accomplishment that you're supposed to have. Even if I find it like, this is artificial, this is clunky as shit, this is designed to, this is designed in a way where you're forcing people to replay this over and over again with an artificial difficulty bump that you could have cleared up by making your system not dog shit.
Yeah.
Right? But that's fine. That's your intent. If that's the feeling that you want people to get, that's okay, right? There are people... So there's a divide, okay? And that divide is starting to become like an afterthought at this point because so much time has gone by, right? There was the great Castlevania subdivision.
Between 1 and 2?
No. Well, 1 and 2, that was just a product of like the 1987, 88 era where developers didn't know exactly what to do with sequels.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Which is why Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link is one of the most hated games in the franchise.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, what do people want in a sequel? Oh, a completely different game, right?
No.
So,
I just want bigger game. With more stuff.
What Castlevania 3 is.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And more dudes that you can play as.
Right.
Yeah.
That was one of the finest written apology letters that
like Konami. Sorry, guys.
where there was that. And then the game that follows that, Rondo of Blood, and Super Castlevania 4, for as wacky as that one is.
That one was fun.
It's still fun.
That one was fun.
But it's still in that formula where the difficulty comes from knowing the levels. And then there's the Symphony of the Night Schism, right?
I don't know if I ever played that one. Weren't you playing as a vampire in it?
You were, and the gameplay of that had changed so drastically where it had stopped being a skill game and became a experience and gear game.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So
kind of in the vein of the second one again.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But not in such a dog shitty kind of way, right? The
right.
presentation was what saved it.
Was
right?
it a different studio?
No, same studio.
Okay.
Just different development style and different team. And there are a lot of people at that point that said, yes, this is where this should go from here on out. Right. But for me, I was like, you guys have totally lost the formula on what made these games, amazing, right? And again, this is where, a marketing thing comes in where they said, well, the people that are playing this enjoy the concept of walking around and backtracking and grinding for levels.
Yeah.
And so when they take out bosses, they enjoy it just being able to walk in the room and then chop them to bits instead of, playing this hard. I was like, but this is not the game I like.
Yeah.
Right? And so
I wonder why they made that change.
Well, because the series has gone stale. It was...
Yeah, so they just give it to a new dude and say, like,
we got to take this in a new direction.
Yeah.
We got to, try something.
You just gamble on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's fine.
Yeah, no, they don't always work out.
No, and ultimately, if it had failed, they'd have gone straight back to
That's true.
the Castlevania 3 apology letter, as I described.
Castlevania 6 apology letter. Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
So,
and so that's kind of how that went. I lost on that one.
yeah.
Right? But I can't sit there and say, oh, but you guys that like this version, all of you are stupid, and you ruined my thing.
Yeah.
Right? No, that's just how the market, that's what they wanted. That's why there was such a reaction to it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played most of those games in that series, and I'm like, all right. The problem is once I'm done, it's like, well, that was a thing, right? It took me X amount of hours to do this. I would describe that as a perfect, like if I had to take some kind of train between Colorado Springs and, I don't know, Cheyenne every day, that would be the perfect train game.
Right.
Just, sit there and play that on your little portable thingy, and that's great. But if you're asking me, like, what I want to do with Castlevania as a game, well, I want to get mad. I want to like go through a whole roll of deodorant because I'm sweating so hard trying to survive, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you got a different experience in mind. I get that, man. So they got me on that one when TIE Fighter came out.
Oh.
TIE Fighter was my game. So that and the whole fucking 8-month-long campaign that those military geniuses put together.
Yeah.
And then X-Wing versus TIE Fighter comes out and it completely lost me, man. So it was like, I don't want to play against other people.
Right.
Yeah. I want to surf the Emperor. Yes.
Or sort of subtly not.
Or, yeah, kind of not. Yeah. So, and it was like complete. Well, actually, no. Actually, the other one that really did that to me was Dark Forces. When Dark Forces 2 came out, Jedi Knight, here's your glowy stick. It's like, this is not what I wanted. I wanted a lot more. I wanted you to Doom 2 that other thing.
Right.
That I really liked.
Well, because the unique selling point was a shooter in the Star Wars universe.
Star Wars, yeah.
And you guys just couldn't resist the temptation to turn it into Jedi bullshit.
Yeah, Jedi Simulator.
Which is fine, but you guys have those. You have tons of those.
Well, they did it at the time. They just hijacked Dark Forces for that one.
Well, no, but in terms of games where you played as a Jedi with a lightsaber.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right? And then what's funny is that it never returns to form. It's Jedi Knight, it's Jedi Academy. Everything is just, woo, let's jump around really high.
Yeah, exactly. So let's change this into a very platformy fucking one swipey killy kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't think I've ever played a game ever on the computer that did a somewhat decent job with, like, first person view but hand to hand combat. I can't think of one. I mean, the best thing ever was just bashing people in Halo. That's the only thing that ever felt like realistic.
Yeah, and that was one maneuver, right? I bet you people would argue that, like, the Elder Scrolls games are like that, where
like Skyrim?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's still hand bashy, because you're usually going to be using a sword.
I always played in third person, though, man. So.
Well, I can't help you with that.
Yeah.
That's really up to you.
Yeah, no, it just made more sense.
I don't know how to help you. If you're asking for that game and then you turn that mode off, that's sort of on you, buddy.
Well, maybe it is my fault. Yeah, maybe I just got so used to that any game where it tries to have you do first person combat that's hand to hand, it just feels weird, man. It feels like my stick noodle arms are just out there, like, flapping in the wind.
There's that. Yeah. I mean, what are you gonna do? There's a disconnect with that sort of thing where you have to remember you're playing a video game.
Sure.
And so here's the problem: is we've been playing these things for a long time, and when you played Ninja Gaiden on the NES, right? You hit the jump button. You immediately leave the ground.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no wind up. There's no. Right? There's no wind up. And there's no sense of, like, we need to really give this sword a sense of weight. No, fuck that. It's like you hit the sword button, sword comes out. When you go into the first person and you try to make this a real world with physics.
Yeah.
And you're carrying around a sword, your guy, it's like he's underwater. Right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And he's swinging a pool noodle at...
That's That's something you can't really tell how far away it is. Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
It's a 2D rendition of a 3D environment. Yeah. And your eyes are good enough to recognize that.
Right. So I suppose if you get used to that, that's fine. But if what you're anticipating is what we grew up on, because again, for having like the greatest jump mechanics in the early, gaming history, like Super Mario, like there's no wind up, there's no actual jump. He just leaves the ground as soon as you hit the button.
Yeah.
But somehow that felt right. Somehow that felt better. But if you're playing one of these games, you cannot just press sword button and sword is here.
Right. Yeah.
Right? That would
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that, but that's always been the balance in some respects. And I guess like for me, just like first person hand-to-hand combat was just a bridge too far. Yeah.
Sorry, man. I'm with you. It's been done. I would argue in ways it's probably been done well, but not in a way that feels satisfying for me.
Sure. Not like gunplay. So
no.
Yeah.
That's sort of a.
Yeah, you got to get that one right now. Otherwise, you don't even make it out of the gate. So.
No, and a lot of these actually do pass like my internal like military dorkage, where you can look and say, wow, these guys really did fire an MP40 to study it.
Yeah, exactly.
They did.
They got their hands on a real MG42. Yeah. Say, oh, look at this Nazi knife that I have.
None of those would be in that condition by 1940.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
They wouldn't.
Yeah.
So
this is a Hitler Youth knife, by the way.
It is. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, knife polish was in such short supply by 43. This is,
yeah.
Of course, and then they jump in there and like Battlefield is like, oh, well, you're playing as a chick with a robot arm. I'm like,
right. Yeah.
There is you can really get over to my pendulum of go fuck yourself, where it's like, come on, guys, there's
a chick with a robot arm.
That happened.
Yeah, I know. So I know.
And that's fine. Again, there's probably an audience for that, but there is a part for me where, look, you guys are better off selling this as an alternate version World War II instead of saying, or World War II or World War I, instead of saying...
Oh, that's right, that was in that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so if you go around and say, like, this is an alternate steampunk version of this, fine, I have no problems with that.
That's fine. Give me some steampunk.
But if you're going to go in there and say, like, well, we actually shot MP40s too, it's like, I don't care at this point. You guys...
Irrelevant.
You guys are writing science fiction at this point, so I don't really care.
Yeah, just make up Fallout guns. They're better.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like what Wolfenstein did was eventually they knew they had gone so far into bizarre territory. They're like, no, this is the alternate future where the Nazis won. Got it.
Got it. No problem.
No problem.
Let's go kick ass.
You got it. Yeah.
I'm in.
Now, in the first games...
What, the first Wolfensteins?
Yeah, where they were going under the premise of, like, this is actually World War II, and you're like, all right.
Oh, they changed that as soon as you bought the expansions, man.
Oh, what, Spear of Destiny?
Yeah, when you had the shareware version of it, yeah, okay, fine. You have this one guy who's got, dual machine guns. But then in the next one where there's, like, Nazi robot soldiers, and then you're like, zombies. Yeah, I'm going to fight Hitler in this, aren't I? Sweet, I can't wait to get there.
Right. It does eventually go off the rails because, well, I don't even want to say go off the rails because, yeah, Hitler, he shoots fireballs at you at first.
He does.
And then...
changes into a ghosty. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. And then he goes into a robot suit with 4 miniguns.
Oh, did it have 4?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it has 2 on each, like, little arm. And then he's down to regular Hitler with 2 miniguns.
Oh, that's the one I remember.
Well, it's all part of the same fight.
That's
Those
right.
are the 3 stages.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this is also the same... Later in that game, you, like... you're fighting just a doctor, and he throws knives or hypodermic needles at
They're
you.
needles. Yeah. They're needles.
But he's just a doctor.
Right. I already killed your boss. Yeah.
But no, it's not. It's not doctor in a robot suit. It's doctor in a doctor suit.
Right. Yeah.
Like a short-sleeved doctor
Right.
suit. This should be like, well, I have the one bullet, or I'm just going to stab you up, right? I don't, or it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to step on you,
Yeah.
right? You're not that guy. We're not.
The game was not taking itself seriously at that point, you know.
I think the game, when it first starts out, feels, especially for the time it came out, it felt very.
Oh, it was the only thing that that I had ever played.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, I had never played a 3D shooter, and then when fucking Doom came out, just blew the doors off everything. You know, at that because by the time that one came out, I had a computer that was actually strong enough to run it in like the full screen window rather than this like fucking 3x5 window that I had to run Wolfenstein in because I only had a CGA and no graphics card at the time. And so, I mean, that was just like the most intense game that I remember just immediately seeing it at John's house. And then the next day it was like, Dad, we got to go over to the software store. So I got to buy this.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it was like $10. You know? So it came out
Look,
two floppy
man,
disks.
I can't even speak to that. That's
Well, it was ridiculously cheap. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
So when you were saving up money for 6 months to get the next Battle of Britain or whatever, you know.
Yeah, but you quickly found out that there is no room for Wolfenstein in a Doom world.
No, it doesn't fit.
You're talking about every element of that game done in a far superior way.
Well, sure, done by the same guys too. So
That learned, basically, I don't know if they just, held a seance and tapped into the Force, or wrote a whole bunch of like postcards and said, "Can you tell us what you'd like better about this?" Or they've just inherently
yeah,
knew.
it would have been the age where people would have mailed things in. I'll give you a copy of Wolfenstein if you review it and tell us what you want to see in the next one.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how they tapped into the right feedback where they just understood that, well, these are the things that worked. These are the things that don't work.
Yeah.
And because evidently they just took the feedback and said, well, you guys seem to like the absurd shit, because they could have taken a hyper-realistic, turn on that if
They could have tried. I mean, they had the opportunity. And there were a few games out there like that at that time.
And before even, but they were crap.
There was one really good one called like Navy SEALs or something, or SEAL Team 6 or something like that. That goes back to like the early 90s, and it was all set in Vietnam, and it was all realistic and shit.
Oh.
It was actually really damn good. But I mean, it had really, really bad sprite graphics.
Oh, okay.
Nothing moved like it did in Wolfenstein or Doom in particular. So, Doom, like probably the best thing that they actually did was speed up the enemies quite a bit.
Go and speed up you.
And speed up you. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So
You know how much of just a quality of life improvement it is just to have the little weapon sway when you're moving versus the. All right, this is gonna sound.
Shit, I can't even remember the first game that had reload animations.
That one didn't.
That one did not. No.
Actually, I can tell you that Duke Nukem 3D had reload animations.
Did it?
At least in one weapon, because in Doom,
It wasn't the shotgun.
well, no, not a reload, but he would
cock it. Yeah,
rack it.
Doom guy would rack it too.
Yeah, but in Doom, the pistol was just pow, 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 pow. You had 400 rounds, you can go through all 400.
That's right.
Duke Nukem 3D, he'd fire
He had the Glock.
He had the Glock, and he'd fire it like a fucking lunatic. But every 12 shots, he would have to put it in.
Yeah, he's just slamming a new one. Yeah,
right.
But like the machine gun didn't, the shotgun didn't.
Hell no. You never put like new rockets in the.
No, but launcher. It did dip down, if I recall. Didn't it dip off your screen?
What?
Or did the rocket launcher?
No.
Oh, so you could just thump.
Dude,
yeah, okay.
That's why when I come down to it, like, Duke Nukem is the shittiest multiplayer shooter I have ever played.
God damn, it was fun though. Man.
It was fun,
It
but
was fun as hell.
like, all right, what I want to picture to you right now is I want you to take Duke Nukem 3D's bullshit multiplayer, yeah, right? And you have the fun aspect. You're like, well, this has jetpacks and super health and all this other stuff, right? But if I were to take that right now and grab like a series of professional esports guys, and say, you guys are going to play this competitively, the complaints would be through the fucking roof.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Right?
They'd be, yeah.
They'd be
Oh,
like,
yeah, it'd be insufferable, man.
Because the game also didn't even have multiplayer maps. You just played multiplayer on the regular maps.
Yeah, so you had to find a couple maps that were actually pretty good.
And there were relatively few.
Very few.
Yeah.
Well, Doom was the same way. Originally, there was no multiplayer on it, so...
Well, yeah. Well, there was Doom Match or whatever they called it.
That's where the term deathmatch came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was in the first game.
No, I know, but there wasn't special maps for that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. But they actually had maps that were small enough to be useful.
Oh, yeah.
Right? In the second one, the most perfect, gross multiplayer map.
Oh, that square one?
You know exactly.
Oh, I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah, you and I fought each other for like 4 hours the first night we got that fixed up.
Absolutely delightful. But
Your bodies everywhere because there was no sprite limit.
well, on our computers at that time. I imagine that in 1994 or whatever, when that came out, it would have been a different story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Duke Nukem had relatively few meaningful multiplayer maps, and God, I wouldn't say that they don't even take that seriously. There's not even like a consideration for competitive play like that until the first Quake.
Yeah, that's true. Quake was designed
I would argue
as your
that,
first arena shooter. They had some specific levels in there in particular that were just multiplayer.
Clearly.
Yeah. God, we played that a lot. Oh my God, we played that game so much when it came out. I remember it was in development for a long time too.
Oh yeah.
And who was it? Carmack had an article or an interview in PC Gamer at one point in time, and he described a completely fucking different game than when it actually came out later. So, and so when Quake came out, it was like pleasantly surprised because I was thinking that he was going to go like that Castlevania 4 route or whatever.
Well,
because he wanted to make a game where like you only fought like 2 or 3 enemies per level.
He did, and on top of that, it wasn't going to really be a shooter.
No, you're supposed to have to like fashion weapons out of shit and go beat the shit out of something. So it was, I mean, it's fine, more power to him. I mean, the guy was routing right. I mean, he was the hottest shit in the entire market at the time.
Yeah.
So, but then like something clicked in him, and he's like went back to reading the postcards. It made Quake, and everything was history after that. Yeah.
Well, what's the real trivia on that? Why is it named Quake?
What? Oh, I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me. I know you've told me this story, but I can't recall it.
Well, no. This really speaks to what they were developing here. Was on top of all this, those guys were huge Dungeons and Dragons nerds.
Yeah.
Right. And so Quake was actually the name of the hammer that one of the characters used.
Oh.
And that was supposed to be one of the big mechanics of the game was
Right.
Single first person,
Right.
Weapons-based combat.
Yeah.
And all that retained from that is the name, right?
Yeah, everything else is different.
Because I believe that, and you can verify on this, but I believe that part of the issue there was that I think the other developers, not Carmack, but no, not Romero, but Carmack.
Oh, that's right. It was Romero.
Because Romero was the big idea guy at the time, and even to this day, Carmack is a programming.
Yeah.
Just he's the Einstein of programming. And American McGee, if I recall, those were the guys that kind of said like this isn't working as a concept and made them retool it.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Don't quote me on that, but I think
I don't know the whole
story,
but it was a completely different game when it came out, and it was quite delayed, if I recall.
Oh yeah.
It was like over a year past their original like expectation date. But even Quake, like, so for all of its quality of life improvements that it did in some respects, like, I'm trying to think of, like, just what's the first shooter that I remember playing that actually had reload animations in it. So Goldeneye did, but you just dipped the gun off the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that didn't really count.
Technically, it's Duke Nukem 3D with that pistol.
yeah.
But if you're talking about
all the guns. So they did it for everything.
well, you're also talking about what's the first game that had a manual reload button?
Oh shit. Oh, probably Goldeneye.
I think so.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
Goldeneye. Yeah, because Duke, you didn't have to manually reload.
No, you
Yeah, Goldeneye you did, because you get the snap, the click, click, click. Yeah, in that one.
I think you're right. I think that
Might be Goldeneye.
pretty sure it is because
Maybe Halo is the first one that had, like, fucking reload animations for everything. So... Because you had them on the rockets, you had them on the tube, you had them on everything.
yeah,
And that wasn't too far behind Goldeneye?
2001,
So what's Goldeneye? Probably like 97, 98?
right around there. Yeah.
Yeah. There might have been... They might have snuck in Battlefield 1942. That one had reload animations in it.
Yeah, that was post Halo though.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, that's
It might be Halo.
What's bothering me here is it's going to be something that I don't remember. It's going to be
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's going to be some shit that I didn't play. So they're like, actually, the first game that did
Was
this
it Counter-Strike?
was Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, or whatever.
That one had it, but that one was after Quake.
Right, but
So, I mean, that one was after Halo, for sure.
well, because obviously I categorize this with, like, I always remember it as like a Call of Duty thing, but Call of Duty wasn't. There was no manual reload for the longest time. It was just.
Oh, no, there was in the very first one. Yeah, there was. Yeah, but that came out after Allied Assault, Medal of Honor, so...
Well, the original Medal of Honor came out in, like, 96.
Maybe. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat that Call of Duty was 2002.
Okay, well,
so, Call of
doesn't-
Duty was 2002.
But
so...
the Call of Duty team actually comes from the Medal of Honor
It
team.
does, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they actually took that. I don't remember doing that in those games, but
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did in a Allied Assault 2, and then you did in Counter-Strike. And
you
Dave
did,
defeated,
yeah. So I guess that's a question. When did Half-Life come out?
Oh shit, it's somewhere in there.
Because I know, I mean,
You
Counter-Strike
did
is.
that in you did that in Half-Life
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Yeah, because all those games came from Half-Life. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That one might be it, come to think of it. Oh, man, I watched a playthrough on that game, just the first couple levels or so, speed run on it the other day.
It's intolerable to
It's
look at.
fucking hideous. It's so ugly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at some of the other games from that period, and they're not as hideous.
No. As a matter of fact,
It doesn't work anymore, guys. So they hit that uncanny valley of polygons there where sprites don't work anymore.
oh my God, no.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say this. On the other hand, the actual, like, two-dimensional sprite games were at their absolute peak. So
That's
you can
true.
go back and look at these,
Yeah.
and you're literally looking at a work of art.
Yeah, they're about as good as it get. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, in comparison, you look at this polygon shit that, of course, drastically changed the gameplay, which is what you wanted,
Oh, yeah, sure.
right? But the presentation is just...
Oh, man, it's bad.
It's just intolerable.
It's bad.
It's...
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, people talk about, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. It's like,
Oh, I
this...
played that one.
yeah, I did
It
too.
was on the 64, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
but you can't look at this. This is...
Oh, no, it looks weird. Although, well, Goldeneye looks horrifying.
Goldeneye is just... It's an abstraction. It is...
Right. It's just a bunch of memories that are stitched together
It absolutely is, yes.
by very fun moments of proximity mods.
The fun was what you made it. Now, does that mean that it was bad? Absolutely not. It was breathtaking at
It was
the
a
time.
great game.
But that does not mean it holds up to future scrutiny.
No, it does not work. So one of I mean, Halo 1 is the only one that's really kind of, I mean, you still look at it today, it looks fine. So
It looks fine, and on top of that, they've actually taken the effort to remaster it. If
Yeah.
you've played the remastered editions, they're
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
No,
Same
I
thing with
haven't
the
played
second
those, but I've seen like screen grabs or I mean, like let's plays on the original one, and they're fine. It's fine. It's exactly how I remember it being. Whereas you look at Goldeneye, it's like, man, I dated that girl. Ooh,
Yeah, I know. And everybody keeps trying to tell you, like, you know, you go to, like, people and they're making lists of greatest games of all time. They're like, that has to be on there. It's like, oh, yeah, but you gotta understand, man, she was 90s hot. She wasn't,
right?
you know, you sit there and look at, you know, past generations. Some people actually transcend that, right?
Sure.
But there's a lot of shit where you say, yeah, she was hot for the 70s.
Right. Yeah, but like, yeah, there's no filter that fixes that today.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's same thing for the 80s, same thing for the 90s. It's like, wow, she was real 90s hot.
Yeah, 80s hot's the one that I kind of skipped over, man. So there's a few.
That's weird.
That is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
And it's not,
So-
again, it's not an insult. You were there. You had different expectations.
I was not of the age where that was interesting at the time. So maybe at the very end. Maybe.
You're a little bit older than I am, man. You should have been right there in that target age. But should have started to.
It was about 92. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
No, I had a sense of it. I had a sense of it back then too.
Not in the 80s, not for me.
I did.
Yeah. So no. Yeah, no. But even then, I really have difficulty connecting with the 80s in some respects. I just don't remember it being that good of a time. Or maybe I was just oblivious to everything that was going on at the time because I was, a kid. So,
Well, yes, it's only in perspective. So this is simply a question of contrast, right? Is when you're a child and you're going through that situation, you're just going through whatever it is.
yeah, sure, yeah.
Right? What you have to look at is whether or not the following decade seemed better or worse. So if the 90s were treating you better,
Oh, they treated me much better.
then what
Yeah.
value is there looking
Yeah, that's
back?
true.
At that point, it's like, all right, well, they were just there.
Yeah.
Right? But if you look around and say, wow, entertainment changed or whatever, or
Yeah.
life.
God damn, I would say just about every decade I've been through has treated me better than the previous one.
I think that's how it's supposed to be.
I think so. I think I'm on the right trajectory here, man.
I think we all.
Well, this one here is pretty young. We'll see. So,
Patrick, I mean, what can you do? We've known people who were trapped in the 70s, right?
that is true.
That were
Yeah.
absolutely certain that life peaked in 1977 with the release of Led Zeppelin's, whatever. I'm not going to go
Yeah,
into that,
no,
but
no,
there are
no.
a lot of people that will sit there and say, like, everything's been downhill from there.
Yeah.
Like-
No, we knew people who said everything went downhill after disco went out.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sure. Or a disco, or basically one certain version of hard rock.
I've heard that argument a couple times, but less frequently than the disco one.
I think the disco ones argue more fervently,
Yeah.
but I think there are more people who say that, well, this is Jethro Tull's initial album, and everything's downhill from there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think they feel that they have more to defend. So,
You're right. They are standing up for a
Yeah.
decade that, if you look at it objectively, you can look at the problems people were facing. It's like, bro, you lived through an energy crisis. There's
right when crime was actually really high in the United States. Yeah,
You have to look at that and
So-
say, not that I'm going to stop listening to you, but you are discounting some pretty serious demerits.
when every American car that came out of the factory sucked.
The president called it the malaise.
The president did call it the malaise.
Right? I'm like,
Jerry Ford ran on a thing that said "whip inflation now." We busted a president. So
right.
right, yeah.
The one and only time. Well, no, there's two successful impeachments.
There's three. Nixon wasn't impeached. He was going to get impeached. He quit. He's the only president who's ever quit.
Why? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Andrew Johnson.
Yes.
Bill Clinton. You and I have lived through 2 of them. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the last one, which I don't know if that one really counts.
I don't really count that.
Well, I can't see. It kind of does, just like because it's official. It's officially an L on a scorecard.
Not that anybody cares. No, because
I don't think anybody cares, though, yeah?
No, because
Least of all him.
the problem I have with that is impeachment only works when it's not your version of throwing everything at the wall and trying to get something to stick.
Well, Donald Trump proved that impeachment will probably never matter in the future.
Not even a little.
So, because if you're a president, and so, like, watch this, this fall, so if the Republican Congress flips over within 2 years, we'll see impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden for something.
Oh,
They'll find something.
No, it's going to be a Ukraine debacle.
Maybe.
No,
Who knows?
because they're going to be like, well, here are the ties that we have with your son, so here's the...
Yeah, they'll try it.
Because that's
Maybe they'll
free.
fuck something else up. They'll have something, a new shiny. in the
He's got
garden
time.
there.
So, I got it. I would argue that the bite of impeachment actually ended with the with Bill Clinton, because when it came down to it, they was like, so what are you impeaching him for?
Right, yeah, lying. It's like, okay. So, I mean, really, you're impeaching him because he's a fucking sleazebag.
But we all knew that.
We all knew that,
Right.
yeah, and still voted for him.
Right. Because it wasn't a big deal. If the impeachment...
Well, I didn't vote for him. So.
Well, yeah, no, I understand. I was too young anyway, but...
I was not, and I was pretty emphatic about not voting for him.
No, that's... yeah. But
I was back in my Rush Limbaugh days.
see what I'm talking about. You're walking back in different decades.
I'm telling you, man, decades get better every single year.
But no, if the charge was Bill Clinton, you personally, like we have you on video, it's like, this is you literally selling missiles to the North Koreans. That's
that would, yeah, they would. I think if anybody did something like that, it actually would stick.
Yeah.
But like, so impeachment proceedings always have to start in the House and they get tried by the Senate.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be something that's bad enough to punch through the partisanship of the House.
Right.
So,
Right.
And like allegedly having ties to Russia or allegedly having ties to the Ukraine are not going to cut it. So,
No.
yeah, in order to actually punch it all the way through the Senate.
I mean, you might, but again, what's the bite on this?
Well, exactly. And that's exactly what Mitch McConnell told Donald Trump. He's like, okay, we'll try it. All right. So 15-minute hearing, guys. Be there in 10.
Smoke if you got him, yeah.
Smoke him if you got him.
No, we'll see you.
We're going to run this as quickly as we possibly can. All right. We've heard enough. Let's vote on it. Boom. Done. Because he needs 60. So,
Yeah.
Actually, you might need...
66?
No,
No, 60.
I think it's 60.
I think it's 60.
I think it's 60.
I don't think you need a full supermajority.
I don't think so.
But you got me. I'm not going to stake my reputation on you need this.
Oh, yeah, as a constitutional scholar.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus. No.
well, let me go get my pocket copy.
Oh, well, fuck off with this, because this is the latest bastion of my grief lately is suddenly everybody who was a self-professed fucking infectious disease expert 2 weeks ago is now an expert on foreign affairs and military tacticos in Slavic regions. I'm like, guys, enough with this
You guys don't know
false
shit.
sense of fucking
They do not know
authority. You're not...
I've seen crypto guys who are suddenly experts on that. And it's like,
Oh.
what? Okay, cool. So, I got it. This is going to make Bitcoin go up even more. Got it.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
It's sort of stabilizing now.
It's
but
not going anywhere, man, until like this thing cuts one way or another. So, but that's not the argument, okay?
No.
The whole argument is like all about like everything that's going on with sanctions and stuff like that. And, it has nothing to do with the actual course of the conflict.
No, no, it is simply a situation to turn into a black and white argument.
Sure.
To say like, oh, the Ukrainians, they're like the Avengers, right? Which is
Somebody seriously made that argument?
fucking. People can't keep pop culture out of this, right?
Yeah.
It's like, look, this has been the thing that I've been discussing with people actually from Ukraine and people with a deeper inside knowledge of this. Look, there's no 100% narrative on this like we've talked about.
No.
There is, you and I have gone over the logistics of it and said, okay, what are the benefits? Well, they're not clear. What are the motives? Well, they're not clear.
No.
Right? And so to sit there and say, well, I'm making a difference by putting that little Ukrainian flag next to my name on Twitter.
You're not.
It's like, dude, shut
Piss
the
off.
fuck up. You don't know. You weren't an expert on COVID. You weren't an expert on fucking face masks. You weren't an expert on virology or whether or not this disease actually came from little armadillos that look like dinosaurs. You never were. All right.
Oh, I forgot about those.
Yeah, remember those? The ones that practically got hunted to extinction, even though they look so cute.
Oh, yeah. And then they started killing their own dogs and cats. So, I know, man. I see the same thing. You know, it's just like, shut the fuck up. You know, what's really funny about this is there's quite a few foreign policy guys that I've kind of watched over the couple of years. And how many of them kind of got their pants caught down on this one, then they have, you know, fucking other people come out and say, oh, well, I saw this coming. It's like, bullshit, you did? You know? So, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
I don't know, man. I'm still convinced the guy he got bored playing Civ and he just wants a good war.
Could be. Or just, again, it's like he's fucking weird. Look, there are reports right now saying that, you know, again, that there are factions within the actual Russian government that are like, this dude's lost it.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
And he's fucking You know what? Sorry.
Ouch.
My apologies. I do that all the time with dudes that clap because, you know, it's like...
while they're wearing earbuds. Don't do that.
That's their problem, not mine.
Yeah, no. Otherwise you get the feedback on the mic.
No, I got you. But,
actually, I got a noise gate on it. It's cool.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Okay, so those just sound like regular ambient noise.
Should.
Okay.
We'll go look at it later.
It's not my problem.
I didn't have the spectralizer up when it was when you did that.
It's not my issue.
Not my problem. Anyway, where were you?
Hold on, let me regain my thought. You talk about something else. I got to think about this.
So last week, who was it? I can't remember exactly which consulting group it was, but they put a 10% chance on nuclear war happening this year, which is the highest that it's been since 1962.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty. So
what's their argument for this? What's their argument?
They're fucking crazy. So, so all it takes is like a few more assholes on Twitter to actually convince Putin that we are actually interested in engaging in this war in a serious way. Or an errant missile that actually does land in Poland, okay? Or something like that.
Right, something that demands retaliation.
Well, it's the whole argument. This is how World War I started, you know? So it started in a very small part of Europe.
Yeah.
So that had to do with regional conflict. And then it just kind of got out of hand. So, and then like millions of people were fucking dead. And the old Europe never existed again. So, and my God, what a different world would it be?
I'm with you on that. No, actually, that's right. You did walk me back to the point I was originally going to make. Was obviously I'm not in favor of any kind of military conflict, but boy, have I learned a lot of things.
What have you learned?
It has to specifically do with the United States military versus everybody else's. And I'm going to point this out right now.
We would wreck the fuck out of everybody.
And I am finding that is so ridiculously true because, keep in mind, right, with the fun little conflicts that we've been having, you know, over in the sandier parts of the world.
Yeah, we didn't use any of the cool toys.
We didn't.
Yeah, we have.
And we have been fighting with one, if not 1.5 arms tied behind our backs.
We've just been shin kicking. Yeah.
Correct. Now, this is...
People do not recognize this.
Well, no. This is what I'm saying here is, it's not as though this war that we fought was with Canada, right?
Oh, sure.
Ukraine and Russia are right next door.
Yeah, they are.
Right? So they're not having to get supplies and troops over oceans.
Oh, and they can't even get a column 30 miles into the border? It's fucking hilarious. We can actually drop 250,000 guys completely on the other... I mean, like, literally the other side of the world if you draw a diameter from Washington in less than 3 weeks and take that motherfucker out in 4 days.
Right.
It's
crazy. 2
crazy.
weeks that they haven't really made any meaningful. I mean, they've captured some places, but
Sure.
it loosely defined, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I look around and I say, all right, well, so that is what, the third strongest military on the planet? It's what, behind
It's
China?
top 5.
It's top 5.
Yeah, it's top 5.
Ultimately, what is China's army composed of?
Oh, well, they're all the same.
Well,
So,
it's Soviet crap.
well, I don't know if the Soviet equipment is crap. So,
Well, it's certainly not on par with.
nothing's on par with American-made military
I'm
record.
starting to see that there's
Yeah.
like a country mile ahead of a country mile in terms of the
We are at
differences.
least 2 fighter generations ahead of everybody else. Most people don't realize that.
Yeah, the F-22 is supposed to
It'll
be.
shoot down everything, and we're phasing it out because they're too expensive. So,
Well,
it's crazy, man.
the thing that they said was that this thing is supposed to be effective until 2080.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to tell me that out there in Dreamland they don't have versions that are completely drone piloted? Of course they do.
Bro, I was just reading up on the new version of the stealth bomber.
Oh, yeah.
The 21 is about to enter test flights, and that thing, for being as ridiculous as it is,
Yeah.
I forget that it came out in 1988.
Oh, the original one?
Yeah.
The B2? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know where they're based?
Here?
Ohio.
Oh, that's right.
They're based in Ohio. They can reach
Edwards,
everywhere
right?
on
Yeah,
the globe
yeah.
from fucking Ohio. No, this is the thing, man. And so that's like part of the reason why like you see these dudes, and I've seen some of them on podcasts. I'm not on Twitter, but you are, and I'm sure you've seen them left and right out there. You know, who don't realize like, all right, if the United States gets involved in a war, our military is going to wreck the fuck out of anybody else's quickly. And so if we do that against a nuclear power, what the fuck are they going to do?
Not a goddamn thing.
They're going to push the goddamn button.
Well, they are. The question here that I actually have is, look, I don't know what faith to have as far as nuclear deterrence or what they can do to actually eliminate missiles. I don't know.
No, in the United States, so if Russia launches, there is no defense. There is none. There never has been. So that's the thing. Now, like, okay, North Korea, we got that one. Okay.
Right.
China, maybe. Okay, maybe.
It's strictly a numbers game.
It's a
yeah.
numbers game. Russia, no way. Russia launches the United States. It's fucking game over for everybody. Okay, because we see we'll pick up their launch when they're 10 feet out of the tube.
Yeah.
Okay, or 2 feet out from a sub. We'll pick them up before they even break surface from a submarine launch. All right, you know it's that good. And then what happens? Okay, bam, ours go off and it's done. Game over. So, and you know, like the projections on that are horrifying. So, like nobody lives through that after 4 years. There is no Fallout land after that where you get to, you know, like live in your bunker and trade people bullets and gold.
All right. Yeah.
for bottles of shampoo that somebody happened to save out. It doesn't work that way, man. So, you know, I mean, like, there's even projections that everybody would be dead within about 30 minutes because it would basically make the air, like, it would basically, everybody would die from hypoxia.
Right.
Because of the actual impacts of these blasts that would actually occur in quick succession. Literally kind of, like, blow the air away from ground level.
Well, there's that, and let's.
I mean, it's terrifying shit.
I mean, let's also not forget what an actual explosion does. It consumes air.
All the things. Yeah.
So. And this is one of the ones where they've talked about, you know, I know that this was one of the fears in World War II, but this is one of the things where perhaps this could actually catch the atmosphere on fire. No one knows. I don't think they're worried about that one anymore, but we've never had like a multiple chain explosion at the same time. No.
All the test explosions, even the big one like Tsar Bomba, you know, were done isolated. Like we've never done like, oh, let's try 10 of these at once. It's never been done. So nobody really knows. No, and so see that's the problem, man. And so like when people talk about no-fly zone, if you're looking for World War II solutions to this World War II conflict, there's no way it doesn't escalate into World War III very quickly.
Nope.
So so get the fuck off about that shit about
So-
no fly zone and thing.
Yes, so-
just sprinkle the whole land with Stinger missiles, and maybe the Russian will go away after a while.
Well,
You know?
it will be a
So-
question about whether it becomes untenable, right? And if
It will
this is
absolutely become untenable for them. You know,
within a month.
well, maybe not within a month, but I mean, the longer that he sticks his finger in there, and I don't know. I mean, I still think that, like, in some respects, his strategy is grab these two things and grab the dude. I mean,
He's failed to do that, though.
I know, but there's a lot of Russia. I mean, so they sent 150 to 200,000 guys. I mean, you got to remember their military is 2 million men strong. Okay, so they're still just fighting with one fist right now, and they're not MLRSing like entire cities yet. So when you see them start to do that, that's when people are, oh, we got to do the no-fly thing, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, we're going to have to sit here and watch them do absolutely horrific things and not do anything about it, which is going to be terrible. So,
No, this is more so, what do you do afterwards? Right.
well, if we can push the conversation in that direction, that'd be great.
Well, no. Okay, so this is why I say that things become untenable within a month, regardless. There is one factor that I had completely forgotten about, and this goes back a long ways.
What's that?
This has everything to do with the weather. Is
Oh, yeah, that's true.
within 2 to 4 weeks?
It's going to be mud.
Correct.
Yeah. I've played enough Panzer General to know this.
What happens? Does that favor offense or defense?
Oh, defense, very much so.
Significantly, right? Does that make it way easier for you to get hit with Stinger missiles and
Oh, I don't know about that.
anti-tank rounds?
Anti-tank rounds, yeah, for sure. So,
And you and I both know
Yeah.
that you cannot occupy an area by air power alone. God
Yeah,
knows we've tried it.
he doesn't have enough guys to do
No,
that.
there are actually conscripts in.
Well, the entire Russian army is conscripts, so that's one thing that most people don't know. So,
But they're
well,
not supposed to be there.
yeah, and the Ukrainian army is entirely conscripts too.
Yeah,
So,
this is different. You're being invaded.
well, yeah, it's home turf.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so they came into the dog pound. So, if anybody's gonna rip our bleachers out, it's us.
Yeah.
So no, I don't know, man. I mean, so there are like a couple like glimmers of hope that I keep seeing out there. So like the Ukrainian president, like yesterday said, okay, well maybe we'll talk about like
Right.
what we're gonna do about these things. I was like, thank you, dude. So just like be cool with this shit, because like the cavalry is not coming from the United States,
Right.
Okay, because the consequences, we're not playing this poker game because this poker game, in order to play it, you have to do all in when you go in. So you can't onesie twosie this one, and so we're never going to do that. At least not in this case. Now, like down the road, and I mean, after this, there's no way you'd even think about doing this at this point. It's like going into Latvia or something like that. No, I mean, if this had worked in like 2 days, then I'd be a little bit more worried about that.
Yeah.
Same thing, like the ADV guys were talking the other day about China and Taiwan. And I was watching this dude the other night I kind of respect his opinion on things. But he was like, China's looking at this and now they're thinking, oh man, there's no fucking way we're going to go into Taiwan.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I imagine. I really do think that in many ways this was their test to see whether that would be tenable for them.
Maybe, yeah.
That would be the worst because all right, take a look at what the crippling sanctions have done to Russia.
Yeah.
And then you look at China, which is not self-sufficient, is completely dependent on other markets
It is.
in order to make their market work.
Well, they can't even feed themselves. So
Yeah,
most people don't know that.
because they suck at doing it.
Yeah.
Right? No, you're absolutely right. So this fight with Taiwan would be a clusterfuck of just ridiculous proportions. Nobody would be on your side.
No.
This would be the first thing that would actually get a lot of these fence-sitting pussies around the globe to say, like, you know what, you are the bad guys. Where they actually overlook a lot of the horrible things they do. When you invade Taiwan, especially after seeing this happen to Russia, and you're like, oh, let me get in on this.
I don't think they're going to do that. So,
No, this would be a horrendous mistake.
No, I don't think Xi Jinping is many things, but he ain't stupid. And so he pulled off the Olympics that he wanted to pull off for his internal
Yeah.
audience. So he's good right now.
For a
I don't
bit,
think
yeah.
he's going to fuck
Yeah.
with anything. So, and I mean, people forget that he's getting up there in age too.
Yeah.
And so, like, this guy that I was listening to the other day was actually talking about Putin. And he's like, okay, so, like, there's literally nothing preventing the Ukrainians, like, unilaterally, without even, like, anybody from anybody else saying, okay, fine. All right, so recognize the independence of these two things, and we'll agree not to apply into NATO for, like, at least 20 years. At that point in time, Putin's in his 90s.
Oh,
Fuck
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know, it's essentially just, basically locking in what's going to happen anyway. Because you think the Germans or the French are even going to let Ukraine anywhere near fucking NATO? Of course not. Of course they won't. So...
Yes, but you got a lot of people with the Ukrainian flag in their Twitter handle that say they have to.
They won't. So, I mean, you're talking about the people who are literally... Man, I don't know. I'm going to give Biden some credit on this one, too. He's actually been pretty chill about some of these things. I don't know if that's him or his administration, but I'm not sure. Although I've never been really impressed with Anthony Blinken. So, yeah. Somebody's like playing it cool, because even the other day they were like, well, what about no-fly zone? They were like, absolutely not. And so there's at least some unanimity in terms of that.
There is. Yeah.
I mean, he was even come from the Republicans the other day. So it was like, okay, fine. You guys have all talked about this. That's good to know.
Yes, but you also you have to tell Lindsey Graham to not keep saying somebody in Russia needs to kill that guy.
Yeah, that guy needs to shut the fuck up. Even Donald Trump chilled out the other day on that stuff. Yeah. And so it's like, oh, okay, so you just realized that you got off the bus and stopped too early. Got it.
Look, man. All right. So what I am actually happy about, right? And I don't mean this in a like, hey, great victory, is that there is an alternate version of this where we could have committed very early and said, nope, we are still interventionalists, and we could be involved in a quagmire that has nothing to do with us, right? Well, I mean, tell me that you can't see another version of this where a different leadership would have committed to...
Well, if it was George W. Bush, yeah, sure.
Right.
If it was Donald Trump, no way. I don't think he would have made any different decisions than Biden has. So, to tell you the truth,
well, I mean,
I think he
did tell Putin that he would bomb his ass.
Yeah, I get that, but nobody believes the guy. So well, okay. I don't think he would have bombed them though. Yeah, because like, so this is the problem with like that argument is it's like very American centric. That like just who the president is actually fucking matters in this case. The thing that I like, so I don't have as many like former Russian students and things like that as you do, but the ones that I have, like, and I did talk to one of them the other day, just kind of in passing about it more so than anything else. And he's actually not from there. He's Polish. All right.
Oh.
So he's got a little different perspective on it. He's like, these two have not gotten along in a very long time. Okay, and he's like, there's something about Eastern Bloc countries that that Americans just fundamentally don't understand.
That is exactly what my Ukrainian told me.
And so, like, he was basically telling me the same thing that you told me, like, last week. It was like, this has been in the works for a long, long time, all right? And his view of it was basically, well, Putin saw his window, okay? Because his window is closing, all right? He's not going to be president forever. Okay, the Russian economy was already on a downhill slide. And he says everybody knows that. And there's like a lot of things that are going on in Russia where like he's talking about building up military. We know the entire military in Russia is a paper tiger, kind of thing, but it's still a big fucking country and you got to pay attention to it. Yeah. And he says, but then like everybody in this entire Soviet bloc or all the former countries in there is like they've been conditioned for generations to be afraid of Russia. And so they'll look for help wherever they can get. He says everybody there will sell you a bridge. So, and I was like, got it. I was like, got it. So that's why we have like so many, neo-Nazis running around. And that's why there's like, oh my God, there's this fighter pilot that shot down like the entire Soviet Air Force. And oh my God, that's why, like, oh, so this separate regions are going to break away and invade Russia. It's like, you guys are all spinning yarns, aren't you? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
No, and it's a weird thing. This is something, again, that we cannot understand in this country, where we haven't had shades of this since the 1800s, right? Where
Yeah, I wasn't alive then.
right. And this is where this is like our disputes with Canada, where it's like this is our like 54-40 or fight, right?
Oh,
Stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But this is
Or Mexico.
Texas. Yeah. So
Tejas.
I mean, when you get down to that, when it was explained to me that those regions out there on the eastern Ukraine, when they said, well, those are as much Russian as they are Ukrainian, and you can't fathom that here in the States. There's no version of this where you're going to see that kind of dispute where you have that as much support on the other side within your country of, well, I don't care if the Russians are Russian.
Exactly.
It's like,
and the same thing was true about Crimea. I didn't even know that Khrushchev had given it, or basically to Ukraine, just as an administrative region. Okay, but because I mean, you look at the map, it's like, okay, Crimea is definitely part of Ukraine, sorry.
Yeah.
But then, like, I've seen it several places now. It's like, no, they're actually 100% on board with this. They want to be part of Russia because they're all fucking ethnic Russians there.
That's
so,
weird.
and it's like, why is that? And it's like, I don't get it, but apparently that's the way it is. And so, you can't draw like really neat lines around it and things like that. But, Ukraine's president's kind of in a bad spot. He's got these two things that want to be no longer part. But again, it's like Texas trying to succeed.
It's ours.
If it had all the Trump supporters.
Yeah, pretty much.
New York would be fine with it, but so would California. But again, we're going to be like, oh, no, we preserve the Union. We got to fight.
Yeah. I know. So it's, that is part of, you're absolutely right, that America centrism. And again, that's the same thing where I was thinking, if we were doing this to Canada, we'd be at the fucking North Pole.
Oh, in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We'd invade them from the north. And the east and the west and the south and the air and the ground.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And it's that is something where I took a positive from this, where if you actually unleashed what is within this country's power, because if you've ever actually looked at all the things that are technically American territory or American bases, like, you want to talk about the sun never shining on the British Empire, fuck that. Because you sit there and look at every country around the globe, is like, oh my God, we're in every time zone. We're in,
Oh, yeah. We grab things all over the place. We have fucking Diego Garcia for some fucking unknown reason,
Well, I'm sure there's a strategic value in that.
I guarantee it.
You know?
Has to do with satellites in particular. That's the other thing. I saw that the other day. So it was something that I hadn't thought about in a very, very long time. But apparently, like 2 years ago, the U.S. actually tested a satellite killer. And apparently, like so China does try to invade. They've got 14 satellites that actually perform their GPS functions.
Oh.
They'd be gone in about 12 minutes. They can launch these motherfuckers from planes. So all you got to do is climb up, launch off your 2 missiles, and come back down, get 2 more, and climb back up, launch off 2. Or you could just send 3 or 4 planes at once.
It just depends on what kind of rush you're in.
It's completely
and what kind of
mind-blowing,
yeah.
It was just something that I hadn't thought about since playing, like, fucking Command HQ.
I know.
Where it's like, oh, I need to see where the Russians are. It's like, well, actually, it's more important that they know where we are, okay? And we're going to... You're locked in here with me. Exactly. No, it is absolutely freaking scary what this country... I mean, this country has, like, teeth and claws that other countries, and even people who think, all right, I'm a little bit of a military nerd, of course. All right.
Sure.
I don't keep up with the modern stuff, but I've been seeing a lot more of it lately. And just looking at, like, some of the capabilities... and then I've had people, I thought all the nuclear weapons were gone. I was like, oh no,
Not by a
Oh, no, no,
shot,
no, no.
man.
They've all been here, and they're still here. So, in fact, we got tons of them right here in Colorado. So that you might not even know about. You're driving out east somewhere, up north somewhere, and all of a sudden there's a fence that looks really expensive. You know? So-
Right, right. And you're like, what exactly is so valuable about that cattle or
Right,
whatever
yeah.
that's in there?
Why
has
is the
nothing
grass
to do
here
with
so
cows.
tall?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, and it's absolutely crazy how much firepower, and like some of that's not even published. There's a lot of it that's just speculation on exactly. So, like, you know, the nuclear reduction treaties, you're not supposed to have MIRVs anymore. You gonna tell me that we don't have MIRVs? Of course we have MIRVs.
Not only do we have MIRVs, my understanding is that the MIRVs that do exist fly faster than you think they're possible,
Yes.
and they pump out decoys every.
See, this is those guys with the horn-rimmed glasses in 1960 from the Rand Corporation who were like, well, if we really have to do a nuclear war, how do we do it right? You know?
Ask my dad.
Yeah, exactly. You know?
I know.
And so, and I mean, like, then, like, there's a whole bunch of, like, everybody looks at, like, aircraft carriers in the Navy and stuff, you know, and, oh, yeah, those are the heavy hitter. And that's not even close to it, man.
Well, they are heavy hitters.
They are heavy hitters, but, you know, like, we're not going to send one in the Taiwan Strait and duke it out Midway style, you know. In that case, like, the Chinese Navy has to go to port. So, and there are so many, I mean, they have taken, like, not only have we got new ballistic missile submarines now, we've taken the old ones and basically turned them into, you know, these things that hold literally hundreds of cruise missiles.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, what can we do with this platform? We need to retire it from nuclear service because we got new ones. So what do we do with the old ones? Stuff them with Tomahawks. And so basically one of those can take out an entire fleet. It's crazy, man.
Well, so again, Patrick, let me reiterate here. What do you know about the B-21? What is so different about it?
The B-21 can carry more nuclear bombs. So, and it can fly forever. It can fly for days, literally.
Okay.
So it's nuts.
What you have here is
Oh, and it's stealth still.
it is
It's better stealth.
It's better
Yeah,
stealth.
Better stealth.
It refuels midair,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. You cannot see the nukes coming.
Right. That's the nuclear triad: submarines, launch or submarine silos, and
Yeah.
fucking, you know, Ohio.
So
Yeah. Well, actually, I think they're in Omaha now. Well, there's like two major bases where they are.
well, Edwards would be one of them. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
That's huge. I know that used to be. I would imagine that. Well, and
Well, and they're in Guam too.
yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
in Guam.
And this is what I'm talking about, is when you have things like this, that you're talking about, if this were to occur, you're talking about getting hit so hard before you can even, press the button, because it's not like this country doesn't know.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, so like first strike doctrine is definitely a weird thing. There have been
I agree.
there have been many calls over the years to everybody to commit to first strike doctrine. The only person who won't do it is us. Okay, and so, but like even then, if you were to do that, there's no way to prevent them seeing you from doing it effectively, or at least subsuming that you've done it if you do other things first.
Well, it would only be effective if you could have all the things simultaneously go off at exactly the same time.
Yeah, but that would still end human life.
It absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't think they'll do that.
No, but there's the fact that you can sort of
Yeah.
like it does. It's not an ultimate trump card, because you can still be stupid enough to be like, yeah, I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hit the button. You have to trust other Russians to say no.
Yeah, you might, and that has happened.
Chinese, yeah.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course
happened on both sides.
Yeah.
There have been mistakes that have been made, but and I'm no expert on it. But at
Nobody
the
is.
same, well, there are some people who, I mean, they've wargamed it out 1 billion times. So,
But that's the thing, is having war gamed it out doesn't mean that you're an expert on it because you
No.
have a experience level of 0. You have no prior.
No, no.
It's all
It might go
entirely
completely
hypothetical.
sideways.
Right.
Yeah, and so like a lot of the well, I mean, a lot of the effects of it are that's actually scientifically, well documented. But yeah, how people actually react, I don't know, man. So I mean, it's a distinct possibility that we haven't really thought about deeply since 1989. You know,
With good reason.
yeah, with absolutely good reason. But it's also at the point in time where I mean, it could go fast, man. If like just a couple like just bad luck draws of history kind of went on right now, but chances are it probably won't, you know.
Yeah.
It probably won't, but then, you know, Twitterati like rattling sabers out there and pushing their AOC congressmen to fucking, you know, call for a no-fly zone is ridiculous, you know. And say what you want about the deep state fucking knows this, okay? So your high level bureaucrats in both the Pentagon and the State Department, there is actually a hard edge there that, you know, and I don't care if your president is actually fucking, you know, a stroke victim right now or whatever. So, okay, I'm glad there's some people manning the phones, okay, who actually know what they're talking about. And so, you know, dismantling the whole thing was, or not dismantling the whole thing was probably for the best at this moment.
Oh, no, totally understand.
Yeah.
And just as a side note, it's funny that you say that term. Actually, this is one of the things that kind of gets on my nerves. Is there was I worked on a program where they were talking about the basis for conspiracy theories, right?
Oh, nice.
Well, and this is the funny thing is, as I've said to you, I'm privy to see what they talk about off camera versus what they're recording for.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now.
All right. So here's the interesting thing is while they're talking about it off camera, okay, the guy that's the expert on this, and he's a well-known writer, I don't remember his name, but the thing that they're doing is they're talking about how it is that people become interested into conspiracy theories. And what's interesting is that before they go into the formally recorded stuff, they're talking about how this basically impacts both parts of the political spectrum.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right? Now, when they start recording, okay, I'm sitting there, this is like an hour-long thing. I'm like, how long is it before you guys wrap this into January 6th? And of course, that's where this was going, right?
It's all QAnon.
Yes, and they were talking about how people get wrapped into this, right? Because the interesting thing is they talk about the part of the brain that actually finds conspiracy theories susceptible, right? And they had completely discounted the essentially cult-like status that happens on the left as well.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And that was just for basically programming because that's how it's going to come out.
Yeah.
Even though in the side parts, right, they were clearly talking about, look, this is how it manifests on this side. This is how it manifests on this side. But it was basically a roundabout way to say, like, well, January 6th happened because Republicans are dumb.
I've heard that argument so many times. It's so stupid, man.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, don't.
Well, I mean, like, so the one that doesn't get called out often enough on the left is, and I'm talking about far left on this one.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
the noisy left.
I don't even know if it's like well, yeah, actually, most of them are the noisy left, and they get wrapped into not just Occupy Wall Street, but also BLM and all this stuff. It's this chunk of the left that really takes a look and says, it's all about fucking money. So everything's about money, man. So just follow the money, you know, and understand that money motivates everybody. And so, you know, like this entire war and the stuff, it's all due to the military-industrial complex, bro. You know, and things like that. It's just like, all right, okay, so like, and I'd be curious to see what they saw, what they said was the door into these things, because it's almost always something that's like legit. okay, on one side or the other.
That's what they said. So like
Yeah.
every meaningful, they said that, look, they said that there's no way to fully explain how all conspiracies start off or which ones
Sure.
gain traction, but the ones that do always have some kind of measurable kernel of truth, right?
So I'd be curious if they talked about January 6th and QAnon. There's actually
yeah.
something that I've been reading on that was kind of interesting. And it talked that QAnon, okay, so it was around for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, but it was just back there on 8chan. We're actually at 4chan first, right? Yeah. And so it didn't really get gas until it got a bunch of fucking Bernie supporters. So yeah, after she got burned by it, and so then it just went nuts at that point in time because it had this like piece of like legitimate, oh, we're bipartisan, here we're all trying to, kind of thing. And so it was just really interesting because both of those people both of those like camps, if you call them that, both felt that they got screwed by Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Regardless of their political leanings at the time, it was that kernel of truth. Okay, because they did. Yeah, clearly. So in both cases. All right, so that actually allowed that gasoline just to catch fire.
Well, the ultimate absurdity that they pointed out with this, with that saying that there is no left-leaning bend into conspiracy territory.
That's bullshit.
Well, he said this is like, all right, so let me get this straight.
Yeah.
He's like, let me point this out before we start recording, and just on the side. He's like, the same people that said that Russia got Donald Trump elected
Right.
are the same people saying that he is responsible for what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the most patently apparent one that you could probably point to.
this is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard,
Yeah.
right? But they believe it as ardently as anybody could believe in reptile people, right?
Yeah.
So,
I remember when that one broke. I remember when they did the first hearing with, who's that douchebag from California?
I don't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and so I was sitting there watching the hearing. I was like, about halfway through, I was like, oh, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me about half an hour, and they were interviewing Cohen, his lawyer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
This is, oh, shit, no, really. And then I started seeing, like, more and more of it. I was like, okay, got it. So this is complete horseshit at this point in time. But that one was, like, so patently apparent because so many, like, hard lefties really bought into that. Well, even, like, a bunch of your, I would say, like, your New York Times crowd and stuff, like, those are kind of, like, center lefties now, Well,
there were a lot of people who had just accepted it as fact.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is where it was pointed out. They said, okay, so let me get this straight. Last election, the Trump election was illegitimate because of Russian interference.
Right.
But now you're saying that the people who are saying that this election was illegitimate, well, you guys are just conspiracy theorists.
Yeah. You guys are all idiots. Yeah. Yeah. So now there's been a few journalists that I do respect who were kind of pointing out that it's like, well, actually, no, these are individuals who truly do feel like they've been screwed by the system for the last 20 years. And there's a lot of them. Okay. In fact, that's why a lot of more black people and Latinos voted for Donald Trump in this last election.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Actually, it makes sense because if you think about it just like in terms of who your working class is, it makes excellent sense. Mm-hmm. So, but at the same point in time, it was also one of these things where it was just like so clear, that all right, so this is a rigged game in this sense. Okay, and so why wouldn't we actually like try and learn from that? Well, no, it doesn't fit with the narrative right now because it's not. So there's another guy out there that I really respect. His name is Shelby Steele.
I know that name.
He's great. He's a black guy. He's written on it for years, stuff like that. But he had this thing that I saw on I can't remember. It might have been on Glenn Lowry's show. Where he gets interviewed by a couple people that I know that I follow every now and then. So it might have been somebody else, but he was talking about like what was it? Who was the kid who got shot? The black kid got shot by a white cop after he turned, and so at first he's running away, and then he turned on the cop, and so the cop. It was legit, but that was not the narrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was actually something legit. It was like, why did you charge the cop? You know? So, or no, he was the one where he had taken his taser. So, yeah. And so, if I'm not mistaken, so Stu was talking about this, and he's like, the reason why nobody wanted to believe the facts on that one was really simple. It's because there's a poetic truth behind what the narrative was. Okay, it's not just what people wanted to believe, but it reflected their own experiences. Okay, and so that's why it was so hard to actually get that story straight. And so I think the whole Donald Trump thing was exactly the same. So in some respects, with the Russiagate stuff,
Right.
all right, which now a lot of people on the left have had to eat and crow over that one. So
Some people refuse to eat it.
some people refuse to. Yeah, absolutely, and they just look silly now at this point in time. So, and I think the same thing is probably going to happen with the January 6th crowd, in some respects. Like, I still see people out there, oh, it was, an insurrection. And it's like, it was a poorly organized riot, okay, that unfortunately resulted in some very tragic deaths. It was literally and I mean, there was a guy that I can't remember who it was, but he called it a week after it happened. He said the dog caught the car. And that's all it was, And so now I think, a year and a half or a year and some change later, irrational, more like cooler heads kind of look at that one. Maybe some people in the party structures, when it comes to the next election, will actually take a look at it.
Oh, they're still trying to play it up. Like, there are some people who do not want to let that go.
They will not.
And the whole thing on this is, no matter how many times, like,
it won't.
Like, that horse is dead, but there are still people being like, I think I could see his leg moving, right?
Oh, right, yeah, exactly. Oh, we caught some more Boogaloo Boys or whatever. Well, I don't even think they were involved in it. It was the
Proud Boys.
The Proud Boys. Well, and they weren't even there, except for a few of them, if I'm not mistaken. Because didn't their leader get busted like the day before for something completely unrelated?
I believe so, yeah.
And they all freaked out. Oh, shit, they know. And so none of them showed up.
Would you?
Fuck no.
You can't get arrested when you have to be at work tomorrow, man. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm going to make this point. I have made the point, and I have talked about this. I'm telling you that when history looks at this, if it looks at it fairly, okay, the George Floyd protests, some of them were protests, some of those were just flat out riots.
Yeah.
This happens because of COVID, right? Because there are a lot of people who can't be at work and a lot of people who can't be, right? Or they're out of work, they can't be at work, whatever, right?
Yeah.
A lot of riots don't happen if you have shit to lose.
Yeah. I don't even know if the George Floyd riots will register on history's radar, to tell you the truth. They might, but there's gonna be like, I mean, so it seems like events have been coming at us like bam, 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 like crazy, the last like 3 or 4 years. Well, maybe not even the last 3 years, maybe just ever since COVID. Because what was the big fucking thing that was going on before COVID?
Before COVID?
Yeah.
The last thing I remember before COVID
was still like Russiagate at that point in time. Maybe a little.
I thought the big concern was that there were these murder hornets, and
you're right. They're gonna eat your children.
You remember the murder hornets?
I remember the murder hornets. I think we got an episode title.
Okay, all right.
We're at $1:37. I think.
Okay, all right. You know what? So I think that's a fine place to leave off. So, remember, this is our last message. Was at a time, murder hornets were the biggest deal, because remember, the solution they were trying to come up with was a mass release of praying mantises, because
I do remember this. The fucking hornets are coming. Oh!
Because they were tying it into like global warming. And shit, right?
That's right. Yeah, they were going to kill all the bees, and then we weren't going to have any fucking food. So, yeah, all right. So I think history will remember the murder hornets.
I'm sorry, that's the last big story I remember before like COVID happened.
It was the the thing du jour, and they had their mean, angry red faces all over over my scroll and my
yeah.
And then, oh, well, there's this thing going on in China, but murder hornets are gonna fucking kill all your bees, man. So,
dude, this is the exact shades of like the Gary Condit 9/11 thing. That was the biggest, most important story that disintegrated into the ether.
Right.
The second planes actually hit buildings.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh God, I remember that too.
Yeah, the every day, especially because the media was limited, it's just like every day I'm seeing pictures of Chandra Levy and how deep this goes and what this is all about, what this, disappeared, all this other shit, and then, right?
And the world changed. Yeah.
So the Hornets were coming, the mantises were supposed to be the solution. But then a bunch of people in China got sick. We all lost our fucking minds.
Yeah, George Floyd's unfortunately going to be completely papered over
by
COVID. And then, so like the original protests aren't going to be remembered because of the riots afterwards, and then the riots actually devolved in all kinds of different things, which eventually got to the point in time where people just fucking sick of it.
Yeah.
And then COVID, anything that happened that summer is overshadowed by the fact that COVID was still around for 2 more fucking years.
Correct.
Yeah, it might still be around. You never know. So, all the epidemiologists out there now are like, okay, well, fine. It's a thing. It's like rhinovirus.
It's a flu.
It's a flu, but just like the flu, we could have really bad strains of it, and nobody's going to care.
And so once a year, we're going to look at how the strain is developing, and we're going to give you this, and you can say you can either take 2 of these. This one's for the regular flu.
Yeah.
This one's the COVID. Or, God help me,
flu.
or they might say, take this shot. It's got them both. Right?
Yeah, so that's exactly what my allergist was saying yesterday.
And,
so,
this is the funny thing is when people look at, all right, because I would argue that the LA riots had a greater social impact, but
Absolutely.
even then, I can sit there and look at it and say, well, what were the long-lasting impacts?
Everything was cleared off the calendar at that time, too.
So the only thing I can tell you, because all of the quote-unquote social reforms that were supposed to take place because of these riots, okay, they're already backpedaling these, right?
Yeah.
Every place that was like, well, we're going to defund our police, are refunding them right now as they're losing their voter bases because they're like, fucking crime shot up 40%.
Well, losing their voter bases, they're getting voted out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so when it comes down to it, what was the results, the long-lasting impact? Well, every streaming service that I go to has a section that bothers me and says, are you interested in black voices?
Yeah, yep.
Do you want to hear more?
Keep seeing that on Twitch.
Yeah. That's your long-lasting impact.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It's just like Black History Month, man. So, here you guys go. You get a month where we can all think about you, and it's just like, no, actually, just teach it as history, and then we'll know. So I don't know. I don't get it. Again, I got an argument with someone about that the other night. I was like, we shouldn't fucking teach history anymore. You get a class on it maybe in, the 11th grade when you don't give a shit. And then if you want to take it in college, it's an elective. Go for it.
Bro, I would rather they scrap all of history and just actually replace it with government law and civics. Because I would...
Yeah, a law class would be great.
I would...
So... I don't want any of that, man. Get that fucking out of here. Math and English. Off you go.
Look, man,
do those things right. Then you can learn the other cool stuff.
That's fine. But no, I would much rather that people have a greater sense of what their government actually does and what it's composed of.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people that think certain agencies of the government or whatever have a lot more power than they do.
Yeah, I know. I run into that all the time. And then I get such pushback. People, and I'm like, actually, your government works really well. Okay? It works really, really, really well. If you take it in comparison to other governments out there in the world, or even how well ours operated in the past, it works great.
It is nice when you have many different agencies with many different agendas, right? Versus one caterpillar all walking on the same legs.
Right. And that caterpillar tells you that, oh, this virus isn't a problem. Everybody clean it up. Oh, never mind. Everybody stay in your house for 3 weeks. Oh, and don't go out and get any food so you starve. Yeah, no, you're right.
Oh, wait, it never existed.
It never existed.
Oh, no, this comes from dinosaurs. Oh, wait, this comes from...
This comes from foreigners.
This comes from dogs and cats.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the problem.
You can cure this with herbal tea.
I know. Like, how the fuck do we still have a government that powerful that essentially is running like conversion therapy camps? Essentially,
yeah,
like
exactly.
you guys might as well be doing "Pray the Gay Away."
They are doing "Pray the Gay Away." So.
And
Pray the Uyghur away.
Exactly, and then you have people...
Oh shit, we should title it that. Never mind.
I don't want to write that.
That makes me sad.
It does.
Yeah.
Let's not make light of their tragedy. Just
no, let's not make that.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts?
Yeah.
Barring nuclear war, the world's going to be fine next week. So, it really is okay. It's not too bad at all.
Yeah, shit gets more expensive sometimes.
Yeah, shit gets more expensive sometimes. But hey, man, so, that's capitalism. So,
well, you know what happens then, right?
Well, you're going to choke off the companies that don't perform. So,
well, I mean, the thing is, the system will do what it does.
Yep.
Is the people in charge have made things more expensive, and the people in charge will lose their jobs when election time comes, and that has historically always been true.
God, and they're not going to be able to bend that. They're not going to be able to bend that curve until November.
Not even by a little bit.
Well, unless I'm right about the oil prices being a fraud, but that's a discussion for Friday.
But I'll just leave it to you this. Okay.
Yeah.
Our government is actively negotiating to purchase oil with Venezuela and Iran right now as we speak. Okay.
I always thought we overreacted to them a little bit too hard. Venezuelan socialism isn't really what people think it is. So, it's more like a junta.
Look, what you choose to call yourself, right? If you talk about like the CCP and you say they don't really adhere to communist policies,
right,
you can argue that.
Yeah.
But the bottom line here is you've taken none of what should be the benefits of communism, just the totalitarian parts. So as far as I'm concerned, you're as communist as they get.
Yeah, you eat the juicy parts of the steak and leave the fat. Yeah.
And where all the flavor is. So we'll get into that. More developments will happen in the next 2 days, and we'll hand wave them as being the insignificant bits that they are.
Yeah, we should.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about Denver's new quarterback hitting the button.